So I keep getting tongue-tied on the intro. This is about the fourth time that I've recorded it. Let's see if I can get it right this time. Now let's look at Disney and see how they use forecasting as a competitive advantage. So Disney derives revenue from people, how many visitors they have and how much money they spent. When you have kids, or even if you don't have kids and you go to Disney, it is not a cheap endeavor. I took my children on a Christmas cruise this year and we stopped at Disney for a couple days beforehand, and it was pretty expensive, but they loved it. But anyway, so if we look at it, what does Disney do? Well, the daily management report that they get is only the actual attendance at each park, but the forecast is made a year in advance. And so they're forecasting out a year to figure out what's going to happen at that day. So, as we're looking at this, what do? Well, they're using this forecast to look at how much labor they need, when they're going to do the maintenance, how they're going to run operation, what's the financing, what's the park scheduling. And so the forecasts that they use are very detailed. They're used to they'll adjust the opening times, when the rides are going to be up and down, when they're going to schedule shows, what the staffing level is going to be, food and merchandise, inventories, the guests. And this is all based on all of this data that they have, weather data, how the people have used it, and they're looking, once again, they're looking a year in advance. It's pretty amazing how they forecast. So it's kind of interesting because of 20% of the customers to Disney World, are from outside of the United States, especially in Canada and the UK. And it's really interesting because each park is different. Because like Disneyland in California, almost all of its customers are local from that California area. Disney World, on the other hand, is all from the United States, but also a fifth of them coming from outside of the United States. So how do they build their forecast model? They have econometric data. They're including the GDP from the 7 countries that visit the most, what the exchange rate is, how the customers are feeling. Their forecasting inputs include airline specials, Fed policy, vacation and holiday schedules for over 3,000 school districts. So the average error up to 2019 is 0 to 3%. That is amazing that with this complex formula, they're able to forecast this well. And so their main cause of error is rain, because they can't control rain. Case in point, when I took my daughters there for this Christmas, we got a pass to the Mickey Christmas thing, and it poured rain. And it shut most of the stuff down. And then on the way out, we stopped at customer service, and I went, we couldn't do things. And we're sorry. They refunded the entire thing. Just $600 on the spot. Go here. Because that's the way things are set up. Disney is very good at customer service. Now, of course, if you're reading the news in 2020, we had some events go on in the beginning, and Disney is getting crushed. And I just want to bring up, there's something called a Black Swan event. And this is basically something it's defined as an event that that is a complete surprise. The market crash of 2008 from the subprime mortgages and whatnot. The actual stock market crash in the end of the 20s. These are like once-in-a-lifetime things that you can't plan for. And so I like to bring this up, and I think Disney is a wonderful example for this, is you can have the best data, and there are still things that come up that you're never going to. No one could have ever expected that this was going to do what it did to Disney, where they closed everything down for months. Since we went from 15 days to slow the spread to shut the entire country down for 6 months. And you can't forecast for that. But in a normal thing, as long as you're rolling, you can forecast well. And this is why companies also need to be prepared to handle surprise events like this, because things do change, markets do change. I mean, one of the biggest problems that Disney had is that their forecasting was so good, and they were just so set that it's always going to happen. We're always going to get, because the mass majority of their money that they play with comes from the theme parks. When that got shut down, that hurt them a lot because they were not in a financial position to weather it because they'd made some suspect moves, like borrowing a lot of money to buy Fox's back catalog, which may or may not have been the best decision, but they're weathering the storm, but this is something they couldn't forecast. So it's just a kind of drill in there that, yeah, forecasting is great, and even when you're the best at it, which Disney was, you can still get blindsided.